Ladies and gentlemen, death is a subject most prefer to avoid, yet it remains the one certainty every individual must face. Whether rich or poor, powerful or powerless, every person must confront the reality that life on earth is temporary. Acknowledging this universal truth is not meant to bring fear, but to cultivate wisdom and purpose. Life is fragile. It hangs by a thread we do not control. Accidents, illnesses, and unexpected events remind us that our days are not guaranteed. To live wisely is to live ready, aware that at any moment this life could conclude. The unpredictability of death calls for a profound reflection. Am I prepared to face the end? Beyond physical death lies another reality, judgment. Across history, cultures have acknowledged a sense of accountability beyond this life. It is not merely about what one has accumulated or achieved, but about the moral and spiritual choices made along the way. Preparation for death, then, is not a matter of securing riches or fame. It is about ensuring one's heart, conscience, and soul are aligned with what is right and eternal. True preparation is a spiritual endeavor. It requires humility to recognize one's flaws, honesty to admit the need for forgiveness, and courage to seek transformation. No one can rely on heritage, good deeds, or worldly success to secure peace beyond the grave. Preparation calls for a sincere turning of the heart toward what is good, holy, and everlasting. Despite the solemnity of death, there is profound hope. Death is not a final defeat, but a passage into a greater existence for those who are ready. This hope offers peace even amid life's greatest uncertainties. Those who are spiritually prepared need not fear the end, for they have a confidence that transcends this world. Finally, confronting mortality demands a decision. Every person must choose whether to invest solely in the fleeting pleasures of this world or to anchor their lives in enduring truth. To delay this decision is to gamble with eternity. Today, while there is still time, is the right moment to examine one's life and respond with wisdom. Are you prepared to die, not in fear or despair, but in hope and confidence? That is the question every heart must answer. Death is a reality that transcends all boundaries of culture, age, time, and circumstance. It is the one experience that every human being, without exception, must encounter. No amount of scientific advancement, technological innovation, or personal achievement has ever been able to prevent it. From the greatest kings and queens in history to the most ordinary individuals living quietly among us today, all must one day face the end of their earthly journey. Recognizing the inevitability of death is not an exercise in morbidity, but rather a fundamental step toward living with wisdom, clarity, and purpose. Throughout history, human societies have grappled with the certainty of death in diverse ways. Ancient civilizations built elaborate tombs and monuments to honor the dead and to express their hopes or fears about what lay beyond the grave. Philosophers have pondered its meaning, and religious traditions have provided frameworks for understanding it. Regardless of the time period or cultural background, the message remains consistent. Death is inevitable, and its certainty demands thoughtful reflection. This understanding is not intended to instill dread, but to foster a deeper appreciation for the preciousness of life. Ignoring death does not make it any less certain. In many modern societies, there is a tendency to shield oneself from reminders of mortality. Hospitals, funeral homes, and even language are often used to create a distance between everyday life and the reality of death. Euphemisms such as passed away or gone to a better place soften the bluntness of the truth. Yet, no amount of avoidance can change the fact that each day brings every person one step closer to their final moment. Accepting this reality is not an act of despair, but a call to live with greater intentionality. Understanding the inevitability of death influences how one approaches time, relationships, ambitions, and values. Time becomes more precious when viewed through the lens of mortality. Every moment is a gift, not to be wasted, but to be used wisely. Relationships take on greater meaning when one realizes they are not guaranteed indefinitely. Expressions of love, forgiveness, gratitude, and kindness become urgent rather than optional. Ambitions are recalibrated when weighed against the finite nature of life. Achievements lose their luster if pursued solely for personal glory, but they gain profound significance when directed toward lasting good. The knowledge that death is unavoidable also challenges the common human tendency toward procrastination. Many delay important decisions, whether in relationships, personal development, or spiritual matters, under the false assumption that there will always be more time. However, life offers no guarantees about the future. People of all ages, from every background, can testify to how quickly life can change, how unexpectedly it can end. Understanding this fragility motivates individuals to act now, to resolve conflicts, to pursue meaningful goals, and to prepare spiritually for what lies beyond. Some might question whether dwelling on death diminishes the joy of living. In reality, the opposite is often true. Those who live with a keen awareness of life's brevity often experience a richer, more vibrant existence. They savor the beauty of ordinary moments, cultivate deeper connections with others, and prioritize what truly matters. They are not distracted by trivial pursuits, but are anchored by a sense of purpose that transcends immediate gratification. Rather than living in fear, they live in freedom, liberated from the illusion that earthly life is endless. Acknowledging the certainty of death also provides perspective during times of suffering and loss. When tragedy strikes, those who have thoughtfully considered the reality of death are better equipped to navigate grief. They understand that loss, though painful, is part of the human experience. They are more likely to seek comfort in meaningful ways and to extend compassion to others who are hurting. Instead of being blindsided by suffering, they are prepared to face it with resilience and hope. Finally, recognizing the inevitability of death invites each person to ask deeper questions. What legacy will I leave behind? What impact will my life have had? What awaits beyond this earthly existence? These questions are not morbid, they are vital. They propel individuals towards self-examination, ethical living, and spiritual exploration. They inspire people to live not merely for themselves, but for a greater good. They remind all that life is a journey with a destination, and that preparation for that destination is the wisest endeavor one can undertake. In conclusion, the inevitability of death is not merely a solemn fact. It is an essential truth that has the power to transform how one lives. Embracing this reality encourages a life of intentionality, urgency, gratitude, and hope. It calls each person to consider not only how they are living today, but also how they are preparing for the moment when this life will end. By facing death with courage and wisdom, one can ultimately learn how to truly live. Life is a precious gift, yet it is also profoundly fragile. Despite the advances in medicine, technology, and safety, the truth remains that no one is guaranteed a tomorrow. Human beings often move through their days with the assumption that life will continue uninterrupted, yet history, personal experiences, and daily news serve as constant reminders that life can change, or end, suddenly and without warning. Recognizing the fragility of life is essential not to breed fear, but to cultivate a deeper appreciation for each moment and a sense of responsibility for how one chooses to live. The evidence of life's fragility is all around us. Unexpected accidents, sudden illnesses, natural disasters, and unforeseen tragedies strike people of all ages, backgrounds, and walks of life. A healthy individual can be struck by disease overnight. A peaceful morning can be interrupted by catastrophe. Plans made for the future can vanish in an instant. No one is immune to the vulnerabilities that come with being human. Acknowledging this reality leads to a more grounded and authentic approach to living, where assumptions are replaced with gratitude and where time is not squandered but valued. Many people, however, live with an illusion of invincibility, especially during youth or periods of success. It is easy to believe that strength, wealth, influence, or knowledge can somehow insulate a person from life's uncertainties. Yet the truth remains that life is delicate. Every heartbeat, every breath, every moment is a testimony to the grace that sustains human existence. Recognizing this does not strip life of its joy, Rather, it enhances it by removing complacency and fostering attentiveness to the blessings often taken for granted. Understanding life's fragility brings urgency to the decisions one makes. It encourages individuals not to delay in expressing love, mending broken relationships, pursuing meaningful goals, or attending to matters of the heart and spirit. Words left unsaid, dreams left unpursued, and opportunities missed often become sources of deep regret when sudden loss occurs. To live with an awareness of life's fragility is to live with fewer regrets, knowing that important matters were addressed in their time rather than postponed indefinitely. In many ways, the fragile nature of life also reveals its beauty. Much like a delicate flower or a fleeting sunset, the brevity and uncertainty of life add to its preciousness. Knowing that time is limited inspires people to cherish small moments, to find joy in everyday experiences, and to build memories that will endure beyond their physical existence. It teaches that value is not always found in grand achievements, but often in simple, heartfelt acts of kindness, love, and courage. Life's fragility also serves as a profound equalizer. Regardless of wealth, power, education, or social status, every person shares in the vulnerability of mortality. This shared reality can inspire greater compassion, humility, and a deeper sense of community among people. Recognizing that everyone is walking a delicate journey fosters patience, empathy, and understanding toward others who are also grappling with life's uncertainties. Moreover, the awareness of life's fragility can become a catalyst for spiritual reflection. It prompts deeper questions about meaning, purpose, and destiny. It leads individuals to consider not only how they are spending their time, but also for whom and for what they are living. It challenges the pursuit of purely temporary pleasures and invites a focus on that which is lasting and eternal. Rather than living recklessly or selfishly, awareness of life's frailty can drive one toward a life marked by significance, generosity, and integrity. In times of personal loss or tragedy, the fragile nature of life becomes undeniable. Such moments, though painful, offer an opportunity for profound growth. They reveal the resilience of the human spirit and the importance of hope, faith, and connection. They teach that while life on earth is temporary, the impact of a life lived well can endure. In facing life's uncertainties, many find the strength to live more boldly, love more deeply, and pursue a legacy that transcends their own existence. Ultimately, recognizing the fragility of life is not meant to paralyze with fear, but to awaken the heart to what matters most. It calls for living each day as a gift, appreciating the people and opportunities placed along the journey, and preparing wisely for the inevitable end that will one day come. Life's delicate nature is a solemn reminder that every moment counts, every choice matters, and every day is a new opportunity to live with purpose, hope, and love. The reality of judgment is a concept that has been a part of human consciousness across cultures, religions, and philosophies for centuries. While death is inevitable, many believe that after life comes a time of judgment. The idea of judgment, whether from a divine being, the laws of nature, or universal principles, implies that our actions and decisions are not without consequence. It is a sobering reality that every individual must come to terms with, whether they accept or deny it. In many religious traditions, judgment is viewed as the ultimate reckoning where individuals are held accountable for their lives. This idea is found in the scriptures of several major religions, each with its own interpretation of what judgment looks like, but the underlying theme remains the same. We are responsible for the lives we live. The question is not just whether we have been successful or wealthy, but whether we have lived justly, compassionately, and in accordance with the principles we profess. For some, this judgment is perceived as occurring after death, while for others it is seen as a continuous process that happens throughout life. Regardless of the perspective, the concept of judgment calls individuals to reflect on their actions, attitudes, and choices. In secular terms, judgment can also be understood as a moral and ethical evaluation of one's life. While there may not be a universally acknowledged entity or force delivering this judgment, it remains clear that the way one lives is subject to scrutiny by peers, society, and ultimately one's own conscience. In this context, judgment is not limited to an afterlife, but plays out in the present, in how we treat others and how we navigate the challenges life presents. The values we hold dear are reflected in our behavior, and the consequences of our actions, both positive and negative, are part of this ongoing evaluation. The idea of judgment brings a sense of responsibility that should not be ignored. In a world where actions often go unnoticed and consequences sometimes appear delayed, it is easy to lose sight of the long-term effects of our choices. However, when one embraces the reality of judgment, there is a heightened awareness of the impact of every decision, no matter how small it may seem. Each choice made, whether it pertains to honesty, kindness, generosity, or selfishness, forms the character of the individual and contributes to their legacy. The knowledge that one's actions may eventually be judged leads to a deeper sense of accountability in everyday life. Judgment also introduces a sense of balance to the human experience. In a world where injustice, suffering, and inequality seem prevalent, the belief in a just judgment provides comfort to many. The idea that every wrong will be righted, that every injustice will be addressed, and that the good will ultimately be rewarded, is a powerful motivator for many to strive for righteousness in their lives. For those who experience hardship or mistreatment, the reality of judgment offers hope that their suffering is not in vain, and that those who have caused harm will be held to account. However, judgment is not simply about punishment or reward. It is about assessment and evaluation. Judgment encourages individuals to reflect on their purpose and the direction in which they are heading. It challenges individuals to ask themselves whether their actions align with their stated values and whether they are living lives that are meaningful and impactful. It calls for self-examination, an honest look at how we spend our time, what we prioritize, and how we treat others. It asks difficult questions. Have we been living with integrity? Have we been compassionate? Have we been true to our higher values, or have we allowed self-interest and convenience to guide our choices? One of the most significant aspects of judgment is its invitation to change. While the idea of being judged may evoke fear or discomfort, it can also serve as a catalyst for transformation. If we understand that our actions matter and that there is a reckoning ahead, we may be inspired to make positive changes in our lives. We may choose to mend relationships, seek forgiveness, or make amends for past wrongs. The reality of judgment offers the opportunity to live more intentionally, with the knowledge that our choices are leading us towards something greater than the temporary rewards of this world. In addition, the concept of judgment emphasizes the importance of living a life with purpose. It reminds individuals that their time is limited, and that the choices they make today shape the person they will become tomorrow. Judgment encourages a focus on what truly matters, on creating a life that is not just successful by worldly standards, but meaningful in the eyes of a higher moral standard. It calls for integrity, responsibility, and a commitment to living with wisdom and compassion. Judgment in this sense is not something to fear, but something that invites us to live with greater purpose and alignment. In conclusion, the reality of judgment serves as a call to reflection, responsibility, and purpose. Whether understood as a divine reckoning or a moral evaluation by one's conscience and society, judgment is an essential element in shaping the way individuals live. It inspires self-awareness, accountability, and a desire to live a life that is just, compassionate, and meaningful. Rather than viewing judgment as a distant or abstract concept, embracing its reality leads to a more thoughtful and intentional life, one that acknowledges the consequences of actions and seeks to live in a way that will be worthy of a positive evaluation now and in the future. The need for spiritual preparation is an essential aspect of human existence that is often overlooked in the hustle and bustle of daily life. In a world that emphasizes physical health, financial success, and career advancement, many individuals neglect to consider the state of their inner selves, their spiritual well-being. Yet, as life is transient and unpredictable, preparing one's spirit is the most enduring form of preparation for the uncertainties ahead. This preparation is not about religious rituals alone, but about cultivating inner peace, aligning with moral values, and establishing a sense of purpose that transcends the material world. Spiritual preparation begins with self-awareness and reflection. It requires taking time to evaluate one's life, beliefs, and values. In a society filled with distractions, this can be challenging. Many people live their lives focusing solely on external goals and achievements, only to realize later that these pursuits are fleeting and insufficient when it comes to preparing for death or facing life's deeper questions. The inevitable end of life brings forth the reality that earthly pursuits, though important, do not define who we are at the core. Spiritual preparation, therefore, starts with an honest assessment of one's inner life and the recognition that it holds far more weight than the transient accomplishments of this world. One of the key aspects of spiritual preparation is seeking meaning and purpose. It is a pursuit that goes beyond daily routines and focuses on the eternal questions of existence. Why am I here? What is my purpose? What is the nature of life beyond death? These questions are not just for philosophers. They are questions that everyone should confront at some point. The answers to these questions are not easily found in the busyness of life, but in moments of stillness and introspection. People often find that the most profound answers come from connecting with something greater than themselves. Whether through religious beliefs, spiritual practices, or a deep connection with nature and the universe. This search for meaning, when undertaken earnestly, prepares the spirit for the challenges of life and the inevitable transition that comes with death. Another vital component of spiritual preparation is moral and ethical alignment. The way we live our lives today, how we treat others, the decisions we make, the way we respond to adversity, reflects the strength and health of our spirit. Spiritual preparation involves aligning one's life with higher ethical standards and values, choosing to live in a way that is just, compassionate, and true to one's beliefs. It means examining one's actions in light of what is good and right, making the conscious choice to live with integrity. This alignment is essential for spiritual health because it fosters a sense of peace and satisfaction, knowing that one's actions are in harmony with their values. It also builds the inner strength needed to face difficulties and challenges with resilience. Forgiveness is another critical aspect of spiritual preparation. Holding on to grudges, anger, and resentment creates spiritual dissonance that can lead to inner turmoil and unrest. To spiritually prepare, one must practice forgiveness, both of others and of oneself. This doesn't mean condoning wrongdoing, but rather releasing the emotional and psychological weight that comes with holding on to past wrongs. Forgiveness allows the individual to free themselves from bitterness and pain, creating space for peace and healing. Spiritual preparation involves letting go of these burdens and finding the strength to move forward with a pure heart and a clear conscience. Spiritual preparation also involves cultivating humility and acceptance. Life is unpredictable, and not everything is within our control. Many people struggle with this fact, attempting to force their will upon life's circumstances or resist the inevitable changes that come with aging and loss. Spiritual preparation teaches the value of humility, the recognition that we are not the masters of everything, and that there is wisdom in accepting what cannot be changed. It encourages individuals to cultivate an attitude of gratitude, acknowledging the blessings in life, even in the midst of suffering or hardship. Acceptance of life's uncertainties allows one to live with greater peace, knowing that while we cannot control everything, we can control how we respond to life's challenges. Additionally, spiritual preparation involves a connection with others. Human beings are not meant to live in isolation. We are wired for relationships and community. A spiritually prepared individual understands the importance of fostering loving, supportive relationships that contribute to one's sense of purpose and belonging. This connection is not only about seeking support in times of need, but also about offering support, compassion, and kindness to others. The act of helping others, whether through service, listening, or simply showing kindness, nourishes the spirit and creates a deeper sense of fulfillment. Lastly, spiritual preparation invites the individual to seek peace. Inner peace is the foundation of a spiritually prepared life. In a world filled with noise, stress, and distractions, achieving inner peace requires intentional effort. This peace is cultivated through practices such as meditation, prayer, contemplation, and mindfulness. It is the peace that comes from trusting in something greater than oneself and finding contentment in the present moment. When one is at peace with themselves, they are more equipped to face the unknowns of life, including death, with confidence and grace. In conclusion, spiritual preparation is essential because it addresses the aspects of life that are most enduring and most important. Physical health, wealth, and success are temporary, but the state of one's spirit, its peace, resilience, and alignment with higher values, endures beyond this life. Preparing the spirit involves reflecting on one's life, aligning with higher moral values, practicing forgiveness, cultivating humility, nurturing relationships, and seeking peace. It is not a preparation for some distant future, but for the present moment, where the depth of one's spiritual health directly influences the quality of their life. In preparing spiritually, we find the strength and wisdom to face life's challenges with grace and to meet the end of life with peace, knowing that our spirit is ready for whatever lies beyond 8P. The promise of eternity is a concept that has been central to the human experience for millennia. From the ancient civilizations of Egypt and Mesopotamia to the philosophical teachings of the Greeks and the religious traditions that span across cultures, the idea that life does not end with death has offered hope, purpose, and comfort to countless individuals. While life on earth is brief and fraught with uncertainties, the notion of eternity provides a perspective that transcends the limitations of the human experience and opens the door to a reality beyond what is seen, felt, or understood in the present moment. This promise is a source of profound hope for those who seek a life that endures beyond the temporary struggles and victories of this world. Eternity, in many religious and spiritual contexts, refers to a life beyond the physical realm, a state of existence that continues forever beyond the boundaries of time and space. For those who believe in the promise of eternity, death is not the end, but rather a transition to something greater. The idea that there is life after death gives people the hope that their experiences, struggles, and triumphs are not meaningless, but that there is a larger, eternal purpose at play. It is a source of comfort for those who have lost loved ones, for those who face suffering, and for those who question the fleeting nature of life on earth. This promise of eternity can shape the way one lives their life on earth. For many, the understanding that life is not all there is leads to a shift in perspective. Instead of viewing life as a series of isolated moments or goals that are ultimately insignificant, the promise of eternity provides a broader context. It encourages individuals to consider their actions not only in terms of the immediate consequences, but also in terms of their lasting impact. If there is an eternal existence beyond this life, then how one lives, what one values, and how one treats others take on greater significance. The promise of eternity is also tied to the concept of justice and ultimate reconciliation. In a world where injustice, suffering, and inequality are prevalent, many people find it difficult to reconcile the disparities of life with their understanding of fairness. The belief in eternity offers hope that ultimately every wrong will be righted, every tear will be wiped away, and every injustice will be addressed. For those who have suffered, this promise brings comfort, as it suggests that their pain and hardship are not without meaning. The injustices they have faced may not be rectified in the short span of their earthly lives, but in eternity they will be made right. The promise of eternity assures that the balance will be restored in a way that transcends human understanding. Additionally, the promise of eternity brings peace to those who fear death or the unknown. Death, while inevitable, is often a source of anxiety because of the uncertainty of what comes after. The idea that there is more beyond death allows people to confront the reality of their mortality without the crippling fear of the unknown. For many, this belief provides assurance that death is not a terrifying end, but a continuation into something far greater. It allows individuals to live their lives with a sense of freedom, knowing that whatever challenges they face in this life are not the final chapter of their existence. This promise also extends to the hope of reunion. For those who have lost loved ones, the promise of eternity offers the comforting idea that relationships are not severed by death. In the belief of eternal life, there is the hope of a future reunion with those who have passed away, creating a sense of continuity and connection that death cannot sever. It is a hope that death does not have the final word, and that the bonds of love, family, and friendship are eternal, stretching beyond the limits of time. Moreover, the promise of eternity invites individuals to live with purpose. Knowing that there is an eternal aspect to one's existence encourages people to focus not solely on the temporary and material pursuits of this world, but on those things that will last forever: love, kindness, compassion, integrity, and truth. The idea that the choices one makes today can have eternal consequences serves as a powerful motivator for living with intention. It encourages individuals to focus on building a life that is not just marked by worldly success, but one that reflects a deeper purpose, a life that aligns with timeless values and seeks to contribute positively to the world and others. The promise of eternity also challenges individuals to live with hope and optimism. In a world that can sometimes feel filled with darkness, suffering, and despair, the belief in eternity offers a light that transcends present circumstances. It assures individuals that the struggles they face today are temporary, and that a greater eternal joy awaits those who persevere. This perspective on eternity enables people to endure hardships with greater resilience, knowing that these challenges are not the end of the story. The promise of eternity provides a lens through which individuals can view their struggles, not as pointless or meaningless, but as part of a larger, eternal narrative that will ultimately result in peace and fulfillment. In conclusion, the promise of eternity is one of the most profound sources of hope and comfort for individuals facing the reality of death. It provides a context for understanding the challenges, injustices, and uncertainties of life, offering reassurance that these are not the final word on human existence. The belief in eternity encourages individuals to live with purpose, to value what truly matters, and to maintain hope in the face of hardship. It promises that the life one lives today is part of a larger, eternal journey that continues beyond death. This belief fosters resilience, peace, and a sense of belonging, as individuals recognize that their lives are part of something far greater than what is immediately visible. The promise of eternity invites people to live with faith, purpose, and the assurance that life extends beyond the limits of time.